Chapter 20, Red Essence Tree. Ji Qingcheng asked, Jiang Ran, are you also heading to the provincial city? As he spoke, Ji Qingcheng also glanced over. Jiang Ran nodded. Since we left the city, naturally we're headed towards the provincial city. Ji Qingcheng smiled. Great, let's travel together then. We can watch out for each other on the road, which will make it safer. Ji Qingcheng's words resonated with Guan Song, as both he and Jiang Ran had decent strength. Coupled with the martial skills of the Ji Qingcheng brothers, the likelihood of safely reaching the provincial city was quite high. Because the temperature was too high, the five of them rested for a while until the discomfort in their bodies had subsided before they resumed their journey. After packing their bags and looking around the dense forest, Guan Song asked, which direction should we go? Yu Zioan shook her head. In the wilderness like this, surrounded by forests, it was hard to determine the right direction. Ji Qingcheng looked at the sky and suggested, how about following the highway? It's easy to get lost in the mountains. We shouldn't stray too far from the road. Jiang Ran took out her phone. Phones have a compass, right? Everyone. Ji Qingcheng exclaimed in surprise. Oh, Jiang Ran, you still have your phone. The city had been without power for several days, and many people's phones had run out of battery. Plus, without network signals, they couldn't make calls. The phones had become useless bricks for most people, and many had simply thrown them away. Jiang Ran nodded. Phones have many offline tools that can be useful, like calculators, compasses, calendars, radios, offline maps, and more. That's true. Guan Song agreed with a nod. Yu Zioan pinched his back because she had left her phone in the underground parking lot. Guan Song took a sharp breath and quickly embraced his wife, sending her a look that said, I was wrong. Ji Qingcheng continued, the place we left earlier was about 15 kilometers from Ziping County. Later, we kept heading north, and the provincial city should be to the west. Let me see. Jiang Ran took out her phone and checked the offline map, estimating, our current location should be around here, right? Ji Qingcheng and the others leaned over to look. Yu Zioan was next to Jiang Ran, Guan Song was next to Yu Zioan, and Ji Qingcheng was on Jiang Ran's other side. They examined the map on the phone, and Ji Qingcheng analyzed, based on this location, if we head in the 7 o'clock direction, we should be able to reach the provincial city. The three nodded, and Ji Qingcheng continued, looking at the map, if we go through the mountains, this route should be relatively safer. The four of them discussed amongst themselves, occasionally receiving nods from Jiang Ran and Guan Song. Ji Qingcheng stood on the outskirts of the group, puzzled. Watching Jiang Ran's group discussing with each other. He wondered how he had ended up next to the pretty sister earlier, and now suddenly it was his brother. But soon, he noticed that his brother's gaze kept unintentionally falling on Jiang Ran. His spirit immediately lifted. Hee. Older brother, I've caught on to your weakness. If you ever bully me again, I won't help you pursue the sister-in-law anymore. Sigh. Thinking this, Ji Qingcheng couldn't help but sigh. His brother was about to get a wife, but where was his own troubling? Jiang Ran's group discussed the route seriously. With such hot weather and monsters outside, they couldn't stick to the asphalt road. However, there was nothing in the mountains. They couldn't stray too far from the road to make it easier to find supplies. After a lengthy discussion, they finally settled on a route that everyone was satisfied with. Since everyone agrees, let's go with this plan. Ji Qingcheng was pondering how to play matchmaker between his older brother and the pretty sister. Suddenly, he heard his brother's voice and snapped back to reality. It's not decided yet, you haven't asked for my opinion. How did you make the decision? Everyone looked at Ji Qingchen in unison. Jiang Ran blinked as if realizing they had forgotten about a younger brother. Yu Zioan smiled. She hadn't expected this younger brother to be quite cute. Guan Song awkwardly coughed, and Ji Qingcheng calmly said, "You're not of legal age, so we don't need to ask for your opinion. As your guardian, my agreement is enough." Ji Qingchen. Okay. When you're under someone's roof, you have to follow their rules. After all, he was eating his older brother's food and drinking his water. Ji Qingchen looked at his brother resentfully, but Ji Qingcheng seemed a bit guilty. He gently patted Ji Qingchen's head and his tone softened. We all went through the same process. Jiang Ran almost burst out laughing. She had thought Ji Qingcheng would console his younger brother, but he ended up saying something like this. It seemed their family had this kind of tradition. Suddenly, Jiang Ran felt envious. Their family must be so happy. Unlike her, who had nothing, no one to like her or care about her, and no one to rely on. Ji Qingcheng turned away from Jiang Ran, not seeing the change in her mood. However, Ji Qingchen had been observing Jiang Ran, their future sister-in-law. He was determined to help his brother win her over and become the best little brother-in-law ever. Ah! He sighed playfully. Who asked me to be so understanding? I forgive your rudeness. Ji Qingchen turned and started walking towards the provincial city. After a couple of steps, he realized no one was following. He turned around and said, "Let's go." Ji Qingcheng raised his hand and pointed in another direction, sighing, "This way." Ah! Ji Qingchen blinked and continued walking in the direction indicated by his brother's finger. Jiang Ran couldn't help but chuckle. This younger brother was quite interesting. Though he had bold thoughts, he seemed like a nice person overall. Subsequently, the group hastened to catch up. Due to the high temperature, their progress was slow. They had to stop and rest after walking for a while, or their bodies wouldn't hold up. Pausing again to rest, Ji Qingchen lay on the ground without any regard for his image, gazing at the deep blue sky in despair. We can't go on anymore. Really, we can't go on. Why are we traveling under this scorching sun? Jiang Ran also sat down, supporting Yu Zioan as she did. Guan Song suggested, "How about resting a bit longer? We can continue when it's cooler." Ji Qingcheng nodded. He was also struggling a bit, as the weather was simply too hot. Looking around, Jiang Ran picked up a stick and stirred the grass around. Seeing normal small animals emerge, she relaxed. After taking a sip of water, she suddenly noticed a vibrant red in the distance amidst the lush greenery. She got up and walked over. Ji Qingchen's curiosity got the better of him, and he followed. This also caught the attention of Ji Qingcheng and Guan Song. Jiang Ran held the stick and approached the red spot. It was a small shrub with blood-red leaves, branches, and stems. 3 white fruits the size of cherries dangled from its branches, looking enticing. Staring at the red shrub in front of her, Jiang Ran was amazed. It was actually a red essence tree. There was a red essence tree here.